To a story now picking up a lot of steam on social media. Secretary of Energy Rick Perry says President Trump is, quote, the chosen one.
You said you were the chosen one. And I said, you were. I said, if you're a believing Christian, you understand God's plan for the people who rule and judge over us on this planet in our government.
In that interview with Fox News, Perry said Trump was, quote, sent by God to do great things.
Some pretty hefty words coming out there. Joining us now, our chief political analyst, Mr. Brody himself, joining us on set. And what do you think about what Secretary Perry had to say?
Well, look, I mean, biblically, we go to Romans 13:1. What he's saying is accurate, that God has put in all authority and appoints our leaders. So, look, in terms of the evangelical handbook, you know, everybody needs to take a chill pill, if you will, because it is biblically true. Now, having said that, the question then becomes, does God's providence mean an equal approval? And I think that's the question that a lot of people wonder. I mean, a lot of folks Rick Perry would also say, and he said in that same interview, that he thought God put Barack Obama in place as well as president, because we know God doesn't just pick Republican presidents to put in charge, he picks all presidents to be in charge.
Robert Jeffress has said that before as well.
For sure.
David, you recently sat down with former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and you also talked about faith and God with her and Donald Trump. Does she see President Trump in that same vein?
I think it's pretty similar. I don't think she said it in as striking terms as Rick Perry, but we'll let you judge for yourself as we play a little bit of the "for such a time as this" question that I always ask in these interviews. Have a look. You're a woman of faith, proving that God has a sense of humor. Donald Trump is president. Who would have ever thought that? I've asked Secretary Pompeo this. I've asked Sarah Huckabee Sanders this about, is he there for such a time as this? What is your view kind of spiritually on the sovereignty of God and what he's doing exactly by putting Donald Trump as president of the United States?
Well, you know, I think it goes to show that everything happens for a reason. And the way I see it is, look at the results of Donald Trump as president. We have more friends and family with jobs than we've ever had before. We have the economy moving in a direction it's, you know, hasn't been in a long time, but is doing great. We are acknowledging real truths with a president that had the courage to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And there's been a lot of courage that has come from this president to change what was the status quo and to do it in a way that the American people wanted to see it. They did want a disruptor in chief. They did want someone that was going to go against the grain and get us out of our comfort zone. And so I think that God sometimes places people for lessons and sometimes places people for change. And you can look at everything that's happened, and I think we're seeing a lot of change, and I think we're gaining a lot of lessons from it as well.
And I think everybody can agree, a lot of lessons, a lot of change with Donald Trump, no doubt about it.
Well, now, looking at the whole impeachment situation, you know, Democrats want to see an impeachment vote by Christmas. You know, impeach by Christmas has been the familiar saying. But there's a lot of ground left to cover. Can they meet that deadline?
Well, they're going to sure try. I mean, we saw, as Ben talked about, the Adam Schiff letter basically saying we're moving forward. They want this in a bow under the Christmas tree by Christmas Day for sure. The problem is, someone said, everyone's in the loop. Well, if everyone's in the loop, then doesn't everyone have to come and testify? Like Bolton, Giuliani, Pence, Pompeo, can I go on and on? And so that's the question for Democrats. Are they going to look like this is a rush job and politically have major fallout? They're already having potential fallout here, but it could really be bad for them if they don't go and do their due diligence and interview all these folks coming through.
David, a lot of these lawmakers, they're going home for Thanksgiving, and the moderate Democrats, we're hearing they're getting quite an earful from some of their constituents about impeachment. What are you hearing on that front?
Right. I think this is the key week, honestly, and this is a very slow week in Washington, but a very key week in these House districts, these 31 Trump districts that are run or won by Democrats. So you have 31 Democrats in Trump districts. What is the deal on that exactly? Will they go ahead? And we'll see whether or not they can actually decide they're not going to go for impeachment. I think it's going to be tough, though.
Yeah.